Yae can terrify your enemies to death, and today I'll be telling you how to build her best. Let's get into it. So what artifact does our Kitsune use? None other than 4-piece Golden Truth. This boosts her skill's damage by a huge amount. Great for Yae's off-field playstyles, only negative is how it doesn't cover her burst. Great set and a great domain. Next up is 4-piece Gilded Dreams. This will be excellent for all of Yae's Dendro needs, especially recommended for some of her best comps, such as Aggravate. Good stuff. 4-piece Mayonnaise Hunter is usable for an on-fielder Yae used to Farina. It'll be a strong choice for those particular teams, otherwise quite restrictive. 4-piece Thundering Fury can also work on Yae. You get a nice amount of reaction damage percent from it, which is quite good for her. Also, it's strong boxable. Good Yae pick. Mix and match sets include 2-piece Electro percent, EM, Skill percent, ER percent, and Attack percent. Main stats are simple. For Yae's best teams, you want EM, Damage percent, Crit percent, or Attack percent, Damage percent, Crit percent. You'll want to use EM if you're playing Yae Dendro teams, but you can get away with Attack as well. In teams like Ryoku or any other non-Dendro setup, you want to use an Attack percent sans. Best substats include this. If you're playing a non-Dendro Yae, then they'll look a little something like this. EM is not totally worthless on a non-Dendro Yae. She has some split EM scalings, but you shouldn't build specifically for EM in attack-based Yae teams. Breakpoints are simple. 70 to 140 on a non-crit weapon, and 70 plus to 200 plus on a crit weapon. And you'll want a minimum of 1,800 attack in a Dendro team, 2,000 attack in an attack-based team. As for EM, in Dendro teams, you generally want around 300, assuming no set bonuses are activated. Yae's burst is a dense part of her damage featuring huge scalings. Definitely optimize your ER stats. Most Yae choices will work quite well. Use whatever has the best substats. What weapons does the Lady Guji use? R1 Kagura's Verity. This pick was tailor-made for Yae, massive crit stick and huge base attack. The passive synergizes wonderfully with her. As a signature, this weapon succeeds quite well. It's quite a big increase over Yae's other options. R1 Eternal Flow is mostly a stat stick for Yae. The passive doesn't matter much, but you get a bunch of crit out of this one. Other weapons of a similar ilk would be Tuli Tulo's Remembrance and Cash Flow. R1 Lost Prayer is very good for Yae. The passive is pretty solid and she gets a lot of stats from it. Use it if you have it. Nice standard pick. R1 Floating Dreams can also be effective on Yae, delivers plenty of EM straight to your door. Main negative is that you don't get crit out of this, but it's surprisingly serviceable on Yae. R1 Widzif is an excellent gacha option on Yae. The crit is high and all of the different buffs are available are quite good for her. The more refinements the better. If you have this available, use it on her for sure. R5 Solar Pearl also services Yae nicely. Excellent stat stick and the passive works well with her kit. Good for an on-fielder Yae especially, since you can enjoy her electro-based normals. R5 Sacrificial Jade works on Yae as an effective crit option. It'll also be quite good on Yae at R1, since you mostly want this choice for the stats. The HP is worthless, but the extra EM is certainly nice in Dendro teams. It's pretty expensive considering how good the next option we're about to cover is. Free to play, you're quite fortunate, because R5 Flowing Purity is one of Yae's best budget options. She'll do really solid damage with this, and refinements on the weapon are meaningful. If you don't have anything else, fortunately this Fontaine Craftable is quite a great choice. Widzif for Flowing Purity will serve your Yae just fine. You don't need a 5-star weapon for her to be good, fortunately. But Kagura's Verity is still an excellent increase to your numbers if you're interested. Use what you have, her choices are flexible enough. Anything with EM or crit on it will work, but I only mention Yae's best options. By the way, if you're enjoying the video, why not consider liking and subscribing? Maybe even leaving a cool comment down below. If you do, then Yae will bless you with good fortune. So who makes up the team at the Grand Norikami Shrine? None other than the Yae Aggravate Squad. This team consists of Yae, Fischl, a Dendro, and an Anemo. Fischl is a must with Yae. Her A4 procs and electro-related reactions. Aggravate is an electro-related reaction. Yae being an on-field electro-catalyst means she can constantly proc this A4. Not only this, but Fischl generates a ton of energy for Yae, lowering her huge burst cost requirements. This is an extremely strong duo that you should be using. But Dendro can either be Nahida, for huge Dendro application and buffing Yae's on-field damage massively, also contributing decent sub-DPS herself at the cost of making Electro hard to swirl, since she applies so much Dendro. Or Baiju, who can hold TDDS on high ER for buffing, buff more with his A4, and apply less Dendro so swirling is fine. Plus more comfort as he heals and has a small constantly refreshing shield, though less intense EM buffing from him. Kazuha is my preferred animo choice. He provides lots of damage bonus percent to the team, which is highly appreciated by Yae, also excellent grouping. Holding weapons like Zephos' Moonlight can also reduce team-wide ER requirements. This is one of the teams where I think Sucrose's kit works really well. All of her value in buffing is EM, and this is a stat that the team greatly enjoys. If you're using Nihida, don't expect her C6 burst absorption to work. She can also drive on field if you'd like. Super solid teammate in this comp. You can also play a Hyphen spread. Consisted of Flickerman, Yae, Fischl, or Baiju, and Nihida. Zhongli works here as well. Fischl won't be proccing A4s here, but her excellent synergy with Yae still stands. Does Yae still want that energy? Yes. Having Fischl here lets you burst every rotation. But if you're okay with Yae bursting every second rotation, Baiju works well in Fischl's place. Can buff with his A4 and provides comfortable healing for the team. Zhongli also has his 20% universal res shred and does quite nicely in this comp. Nihida is a must as she pairs excellently with Al-Hytham, plenty of EM buffs and lots of reactions to get triggered. Amazing final slot for this team. Al-Hytham himself can do plenty of spreads with Yae's Electro application, a good team for Al-Hytham to flex those damage numbers. I'd like to see Al-Hytham flexing in general. Genshin has so much plot. Anyways, Greg Heffley and gang also like Yae. Greg, Yae, Zhongli, and Nihida being his best team. She applies lots of Electro for the Wimp to trigger spreads, and is a great sub DPS for this team on the whole. Zhongli keeps Greg from getting staggered the way he staggered Sino off his bike, and Nihida is here for all her buffs of course. You can replace Zhongli for Fischl if you're feeling good about your survivability. Greg has pretty short on-field times. If you don't want to use Nihida here, Sucrose is fine for EM buffing and boosting the Electro damage of the two ladies. You can also play a Yae Electro Charge team. Yae, Fischl, Kazuha, or Sucrose, and then a Hydro slot. Xingqiu are your lot of work if you're on-fielding Yae or Sucrose. Consistent proccing of their bursts, and they have respective qualities too. Xingqiu's defensive utility is actually cool here. Because you have no healer or shielder, Yolan's personal damage is high and her ramping A4 is a nice boost to Yae's damage. Kokomi can also work as an on-fielding Hydro or off-field, whatever floats your boat more. Ayato can do the same thing, but we trade having an actual team healer for slightly more on-field DPS. Both work well. Nuvele Electro Charge likes Yae as well. You can play Nuve, Kazuha, Yae, and either Zhongli or Farina. The Old Man you can use if you prefer comfort, and Lady Farina can be used if you want more damage. Your call. Nuve works with literally anyone, but this is one of his better teams. Yae offers some great Electro application and sub DPS while Nuve does his Kamehameha. Kazuha is here to swirl and provide damage bonus of course. And Zhongli will stop Nuve from falling over and breaking his back, like the old lizard he is. Then for Ryoku, 2 versions. Version 1, Classic. Raiden, Yae, Bennett, and Kazuha. Essentially Raiden Hyper, but Yae replaces C6 Sara. A C0 Yae will perform worse than a C6 Sara in this team. This is because of Yae's high field time and the fact that she can't snapshot. Better used if your Sara is below C6. Yae can also enjoy some nice lower ER requirements here. Version 2, Gun. Raiden, Yae, Bennett, and Chevreuse. With a C6 Chevreuse, this team will be stronger than the Kazuha variant. Chevreuse is a big upgrade to Raiden Hyper and by association an improvement to this Raiden team. Worth a shot for those interested. Awesome. Let's see how Yae works. First, her normals. Yae's normals send out 3 Electro Foxes that apply, well, Electro to the enemy. Nice for an on-fielder Yae. Yae's skill is a nice portion of her kit's contributions. She summons 3 turrets, each with their own individual durations, and they will target nearby enemies, striking them to apply Electro and deal damage. If you summon them close to each other and interlink them, each one will start to deal more damage. Simple stuff. Then for her hard-hitting burst. Yae deals 1 big Electro Thunderbolt. Then she consumes each turret currently on field and turns them into more Thunderbolt. This gets rid of the turrets, so you have to summon them again after casting your burst. Really powerful and hard-hitting. As for Ascension passives, Yae's A1 allows you to cast all your turrets again after bursting without any cooldown. Nice quality of life passive that makes her more smooth to play. Enough with free-to-plays, where's all my smooth-to-plays at? Her A4 gives some EM, solid value. Every point of EM Yae has increases her turret's damage by 0.15%. An extremely useful A4 for her best teams being Dendro teams, but if you're playing attack-based Yae teams then it's only a nice bonus when building your substats, nothing gets wasted. Talent priorities are simple. Leveling both her skill and burst is extremely important. Yae wants both, but you will always want Yae's skill in every team you put her in, whereas bursting every second rotation is fine in some comps. So level her skill first as it's her most versatile talent, but ideally level the 2 together. You can generally ignore normals, but if you're on-fielding Yae and using her normals, then it's a nice boost to level her normals. Great, your Yae is almost ready to go. What if you want to take her to the next level? Let's take a look at Yae's cons. This con lowers Yae's Yaw requirements. This is nice, since then you can invest more into offensive substats. Also, you can burst more often in solo Electro Yae teams. Good quality of life con, but nothing that necessary. This improves their turret damage by quite a bit, and when you summon one turret, the damage bonus you get from linking them treats it like you have 2, and when you have all 3, the bonus treats it like you have 4. Their range is also extended by 60%, so a much larger AoE. A good Yae con, but in overworld the targeting on these can be finicky. Improves their skills talent by level by +3, good stuff. When Yae casts her burst, everyone in the team gains a 20% electro bonus for 5 seconds. Kind of lame for a C4, but it's at least more useful than some of the other C4s I have seen. Should have been a bit more bonus. Upgrades her burst talent level by +3, a welcome upgrade to that nuclear burst of hers. Yae C6 is easily her best con. Her turrets will ignore 60% of enemies' death. Simple to use and makes her numbers massive, but there are more exciting C6s out there you can get. But this will serve you fine. I'd get Kagura's Verity and ignore Yae's cons. Go for C2 as a low spender if you'd like, otherwise go all the way to C6. All of her cons are quite decent for her, they're just simply underwhelming for their level of cost. Though C1 feels fair. Yae's a mean aggravate machine, and if you're looking for a friendly to use Electro DPS or sub DPS, then Yae is the right choice for you. Also, very budget friendly in my opinion. Free to play should get a good kick out of her. Hopefully this guide was able to get your Yae dominating her enemies. Well then, this has been Juice, signing out, and I wish you all a day of great fortune.